This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews. The best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drink, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon, Jack Daniel's, Crown Royal. It's all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Despite repeated requests from Keegan Bradley, Nate Bauer will not be playing in the Ryder Cup.
But I will be watching.
Oh, we all will be. No doubt about that. No doubt.
Perfect timing for a Penn State night game, no less.
Yes, I know. So, speaking of which, yeah. Important bye week. The coordinators had a chance to talk with the media on Zoom the other day. What was your take from what you heard from the coordinators? Yeah,
I thought that Jim Knowles was generally pleased with, kind of how they've played thus far on the defensive side of the ball. I think that he is. It's funny, I actually just got done writing about it. He, like everyone else in the world, understands that they need to play somebody who's good, who can throw the ball. Mm-hmm. Right? They haven't faced a passing attack that will be just remotely as good as what Oregon will do. So, the cornerbacks have been good. They still haven't been tested. It's nobody's fault, right? They've made progress and strides as a defense. But you can only play the team that you're playing against that week. And, he more or less acknowledged that, it's going to be he will learn at the same time as everyone else how good this defense really is.
And what about Andy's part of it? Now, I'm going to guess he was asked about Drew and he was going to be asked about Singleton. So what were his responses?
Surprise, surprise. Andy was not available. It was actually Justin Lustig, so they did Knowles and Lustig. Yeah, crazy the timing, right? Knowles and Lustig this week, and then my assumption is that it's going to be Chuck Losey and Andy available for the second bye week, which is obviously the last weekend in October. But Justin Lustig was very happy, right? They knew this offseason that of all of the areas of room for growth that impact winning, a return game, really kick return and punt return, was a huge piece of that, right? That there was a big, there wasn't a deficiency, but that they could really start to impact games on special teams by doing that. And so far, so good. Right, King Mack has been good on kickoff returns, and now they've got Devontae Ross kind of settling in there at punt returns. So generally pleased from Lustig and kind of what they've done so far on special teams.
Yeah, the return part of it, Ross on punts. To me, there are two keys to a punt. Number one, you have to have somebody back there who can catch it. I don't care anything else that happens after that. And number two, you have to have judgment, and it looks like he has both.
Yep. Yeah, and that was a big part of what stood out about him at Troy was he had been excellent there at punt return. And some of those guys, like, it's interesting to hear college coaches talk about it because they acknowledge that it's you know it when you see it kind of situation. Right? Like, you know, right. Some of these guys you just don't know. You don't, like, you might see it in practice and it's fine, and once they get out there in the game, it is just it is a very, very unique skill set to do punt returns, right? It just the trajectory of the ball and all of the different things that go into it at that position, and you're the only guy doing it back there. It really takes, a very unique skill set.
Okay, so when you've talked to the other players on the offense, what have they said to you? Look, we know what's bugging the fans. What's bugging the fans, they think Drew needs to be better, and they think Singleton needs to be better. Okay, yep. I got it. I hear it. Whatever. So what are the other players telling you about those two guys?
No, that's a good question. Look, I can tell you what Nick said, right, which is after the most recent game, he has not been as much of a part of the passing game as he probably will become. Yep. He acknowledged that they probably haven't shown everything that they're going to do offensively, which is
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, surprise. It's such an interesting conversation that's happening right now because it feels like everybody's being forced to choose between they're working on stuff, right? They're focusing on the things that they're not good at, and they were intentional about that and spent these first 3 preseason games, right, as a testing ground when there's no real consequence to making mistakes. Okay, that's one train of thought. The other train of thought is they're not as good as everyone said, right? This team, this offense specifically, Drew and Nick, the replacement for Tyler Warren, the receivers, right? They're just not as good. Hate me for this if you want. I think there might be a little bit of both in there, right? That, and this is not me going out on a limb. This is a messaged point that James Franklin has said. Really, he was messaging it back in the preseason, right? Even before the preseason, that they really wanted to acclimate Drew and these 3 new receivers. So they were going to do some things to work on that, right? That was intentional. But then on Tuesday this week, when James met with the media, he talked about, and I'm super interested in this because it's so important to who this team is and what it can become, which is that he had a meeting earlier that day with 8 players, right, who all have shown flashes of their potential, but have not consistently been and I'm paraphrasing here, but they haven't consistently been the best version of themselves. That's Drew. That's 2 running backs. That is 3 receivers, at least, maybe 4. That's Khalil Dinkins, right? Luke Reynolds. And it's just about this notion of Abdul Carter last season and Tyler Warren just had spectacular plays. They had game-defining plays. When everybody in the building knew where the ball was going or knew that Abdul Carter was going for a sack, whatever the situation was, those guys rose to that occasion. I think it is fair to say, offensively, that these guys who Penn State needs to be at their absolute best to reach the goals that they've set for themselves have not been there yet. They just haven't. Are there mitigating factors? Are there things that are involved in that, including Andy Kotelnicki not designing a game plan around beating the opponent? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. But in terms of the passes and the plays that Drew is capable of making, he has shown it, right? Like there's video evidence of this. People have short memories, but they're not that short. It just happened last year, right? Nick Singleton has had those carries. He has had those receptions and the plays afterward. It is simply about drawing that out of these guys on a more consistent basis. And I do think that it's a message that, fans are, clutching pearls a little bit right now. And some of that is absolutely overblown, but some of it's not. Right? Like there's a little bit of a kick in the rear that I'm sensing is kind of happening with. Yeah, you need depth. You need people to come up from behind, and all of those factors that make you better as a team. Absolutely, those need to happen. But you also need your best players to play their best football, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Well, nobody's going to really know until another week. So it's like, I mean,
I guess isn't that the point though, Steve? Is some of it is, you're playing the competition that you're playing.
Yep.
Absolutely. But it's also a contested catch, right? It's also picking the right hole, right? Like it's these moments that you only get so many of a game. Like it's just more is being asked of these guys. Like, hey, Drew, you can be better, right? Nick, absolutely. Like they can be better than they have been. I do think that a big part of this conversation that's way overblown is, for the most part, absent the home run, Nick has been the same player that he's always been.
I know. Believe me, I'm well aware.
He's always been 4 yards a carry
with
these huge splash plays in his Spurs.
Yep. Oh, no. I've called all the games. I know that. I've called every run he's made. What's interesting is they've got an Oregon team that they'll play Oregon State this week, and Oregon State is, the programs is, look, when Jonathan Smith, an alumnus, the program means everything to him, and the second they're out of the Pac-12, he sees the writing on the wall. He took the Michigan State job. That tells you everything about where Oregon State is right now. So, look, they'll win the game by 3 to 4 touchdowns. They have played one game so far on the road. They have 2 new tackles. They're coming off a game at Northwestern where they did not commit a single penalty in the game. 0. Mm-hmm. I would also like to point out that the attendance was 12,023.
Yeah.
This is going to be very interesting to see how they handle the noise here in Beaver Stadium.
Yeah, it's in the same vein of what I said about knowing it when you see it. If you haven't ever seen it, then you can't know it, and it's different, and everybody acknowledges that. I do expect a team of that caliber, with the experiences that it has had. And granted, every team is different, right? But Oregon was really good last year, and there was plenty of carryover. You don't know what the quarterback, right? That's different. His receivers are different. Like there are pieces of that team that didn't carry over.
Yeah, and the 2 tackles, right,
for sure. But it's that is the beauty and the curse of a game of this caliber at this point in the season. Is there is no middle ground really for either one of these teams, right? In terms of that appetizer West Virginia,
right?
You just haven't had that. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they live up to what is being said about them and has been said about them for the past 9 months.
Yeah, no, they are really talented. I mean, we all saw that in the Big Ten championship game last year. I mean, I know how good Whittington is, Kenyon Sadiq. You know how good Uyunglele is, Bryce Batchelor. That's Tiedemann I thought was terrific at Purdue. I mean, they're a really good team. But the communication part of it is going to be interesting because that's what really impressed the Ohio State game last year. And I know it was a noon game. But that crowd's going insane. It's loud, it's wild and crazy. And not one time, not once, did Ohio State move early in the game. I was so impressed by that.
Yep. Well, you know that Oregon's going to prep all week, right? For this, and I would be stunned if they haven't been prepping for it for weeks plural, right? That they will have an idea and a plan for how to handle all that goes into this, right? All that goes into a night game at Beaver Stadium with everybody hyped up as much as they're going to be.
Yeah. What have you learned on the positive side about this team so far?
It's not as hard as the long drawn out break that I just had, but defensively, they're still who they are. I think that the linebacker, that top line of linebackers, is better maybe than people would have anticipated, right? Amari Campbell's transition and Tony Rojas healthy, right? We all knew that Tony Rojas healthy was going to be a dramatically different player than who he was last year when he was not. I think the defensive line has been good, right? They're just who you would expect them to be given the amount of returning production that they've had on that side of the ball. And I do think that there have been, like I said, there have been flashes from these receivers, right? They're good possession receivers. Yeah. It's just a matter of unlocking, some of those that next level from them. The question or the demands that are being asked of Trevor Pena, Devontae Ross, and Kyron Hudson are different this year at Penn State than at any point in their careers, ever. Right? Like, they've never been asked to be the guys that they're being asked to be right now. I do think also, and not that this is in any way being overshadowed, but Katron is different. That offseason of work has tremendously helped him. I think it's still the difference between, and I'm going to contradict myself immediately. He did have a 67-yard carry. He did, but that's not really what it's about. It's about 12 turning into 20, right? It is his normal carries, his standard carries, being able to be faster by that tenth of a second. That gets him to the next level, right? You don't have to outrun the whole team. You gotta be able to eke out more, maximize the opportunities that you have. And I think he's been very decisive, looks quicker. Just the whole package has been good from Katron so far this year.
Yeah, no question about that. I think everybody always assumes there's always this great carryover from one season to the next. And Russ Rose, all the times I talked with him over the years, he had that run in the early 2000s where they won 4 straight titles, 3 of which with a lot of the same individuals. Alicia Glass was the setter, Megan Hodge was the primary hitter. And he said to me, he says, Steve, the toughest thing I have to do is convince them that you're a brand new team this year, that you're 0-0, and you have to, it's a fresh slate. that you're not going to have any dividends from last season that carries over. We've seen with Texas, we've seen Notre Dame, we've seen with Clemson. Like, there has not been that carry over with them to this point.
Yeah, it's and I apologize because I feel like I'm making this up because I cannot find who said it to me or when they said it to me. But at some point this summer, I had a conversation that included the sentiment that Penn State's players wanted to wake up, right, and it be the semifinal of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
They wanted to be back. They wanted to be back at that point of the disappointment last year, right? To get another shot at that. And you can talk about 1-0 and trusting the process. Like, all of those things are great ideas, and they are really the foundation of what the program is built on. But you're still human. It's hard. It is hard to come at this with a fresh mindset for all of the guys that made the decision to come back and to have this extra opportunity this season. But it is the point is one that is necessary and is true, and it's one that I think I will say this. I think human nature says, forget the semifinal of the college football playoff. It is hard to get up for the caliber of teams that Penn State has played so far this season, right? You just for most of those guys, the outcome of the game is not in doubt. You want to play your best, absolutely, but is there a gear that is accessible that hasn't been accessed yet? Yeah, I think very much so.
Yeah. Hey, I just need you to beat John Rahm next week, okay? I don't care if it's 1 up, 2 up, 2-1, whatever it happens to be. That's what you need to do. You have to understand what your job is.
Well, listen, my job is to break 80. That's it. I'm not going to help Team USA. I'm going to help Nate Bauer reduce his handicap and be the best golfer I can be by the end of the season.
Look, as long as Rahm shoots 81, I'm happy.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, my friend. Great to talk with you.
Appreciate it, Steve. See you.
Nate Bauer on 3.com, Blue White Illustrated. Half hour brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you and thank you for your years of patronage.